As parents, we're all too familiar with those moments of your child completely melting down in the grocery store, or refusing to transition to bedtime, or just becoming overwhelmed by a simple change in routine. In those scenarios, what you're witnessing is an overwhelmed and dysregulated nervous system. And in today's modern world, with all the stimulus coming at us between screens and environmental toxins and this go, go, go lifestyle that we all live, it's easy for our children to be overwhelmed. So, in this video, I want to share with you how to help regulate your child's nervous system, whether they're diagnosed with something like sensory processing disorder, anxiety, ADHD, autism, or maybe you just see that they have really big emotions, really big tantrums or meltdowns, and you're looking to help soothe that stress in their body. You see, nowadays, estimates show that 16% of kids are diagnosed with a sensory processing challenge. One in three adolescents deal and suffer with anxiety. And in this era of go, 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 what we look at in our office is instead of a different treatment for a diagnosis, we look at what is underneath the surface. Because whether it is a sensory issue, anxiety, ADHD, autism, big emotions, big meltdowns, big behaviors. What we see under the root of that is it's a nervous system that's under stress. It's often in what's called the sympathetic mode. It's the fight, flight, gas pedal response. And yes, we need a go, go, go gas pedal response when we're playing on the playground with our friends. But if we're trying to sit still to eat a meal, if we need to get through the grocery store and maybe not get the exact treat that we want, or we need to wind down for bedtime, we need the brake pedal as well. And that's what we specialize in our office, is assessing for your child. Is there too much gas pedal and not enough brake pedal? And if so, those different symptoms can start to develop. So in this video, we have 6 simple tips that you can do every single day to help regulate your child's nervous system, because a regulated nervous system helps to decrease the gas pedal, increase the brake pedal, and now your child starts to gain more self-control and more ability to recognize a situation maybe isn't the end of the world and start to regulate from it. So tip number 1 is get outside every single day. And as you look at some of these tips, you might realize, like, well, I've heard these before. Yeah, that's old news. But I want to dive into a little bit more about what's actually going on in the brain to help you understand the value in them. And also give you tip number 6 is going to be how to make these all work if perhaps you've tried them before and you're finding they're just not sinking in for your child. So when it comes to getting outside every single day, the patterns in nature. There's actually a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, and he goes into how incredibly calming and regulating the branches of the leaves of the trees are. How, if you're by running water, all of these things help to soothe and regulate the brain because they're nature made instead of being inside and man made. So not only are you getting things like sunlight in your eyes, which help regulate your internal body rhythms. Sunlight in the morning triggers your brain to release melatonin in the evening for sleep, as an example. You're getting fresh air, you're getting movement, but the calmness of nature is very critical to help regulate the nervous system. Number 2 is to have device-free time, because opposite of nature are screens, videos on YouTube as an example, games on your iPad, and the amount of change in those screens, because they're changing so rapidly between scenes, between characters, are very sensory overwhelming for anyone's nervous system. There's something in our nervous system, it's called the sensory motor loop. And what that means is when sensory information comes in, our body needs a motor or a muscle response to flush it out. What that would normally look like is if we have a lot of sensory input, we're also able to move and play and process that information. The challenge with screens is that we're getting a lot of sensory input while a child tends to just be sitting there, not moving. And that's why you might notice you put the screen away and now it's time to transition for bed, but your kiddo has all this energy. Or they're watching something and they're more likely to have a meltdown afterwards. It's because that meltdown is trying to release all this pent up sensory information. So, by having screen free time, it allows the front part of the brain to start to engage more. And this is the prefrontal cortex, which is key for regulating emotions, being able to focus, calming, and regulating behaviors. Tip number three, then, is incorporating regular physical activity. This also helps to charge the brain's battery because movements are what the brain needs to feel like it's doing well. This is actually in the hierarchy of the brain. Aside from social interaction, movement is the next biggest thing that the brain craves on a regular basis. So, if we're not moving, our brain is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel more overwhelmed. It's going to be a little short tempered. If you add movements that cross the midline of the body, anything that crosses the midline helps to integrate the two sides of the brain, which can also be critical for kiddos struggling with a dysregulated nervous system. And then the other piece of movement, as you probably know, is it helps create better neurotransmitters for our brain to feel happier, to feel more calm, feel more grounded and connected. Number four, then, is utilizing deep pressure activities. This is something that movement helps with. And then things also that you might have heard of, like a weighted blanket, like a bear hug, being squished under a beanbag. What happens is these are stimulating a sense in the brain called proprioception. And proprioception, it comes from the little joints and little muscles. When it goes into the brain, it makes the brain feel calm and safe. So if a child is starting to spin out of control, you might find that if you give them a deep squeeze, it helps bring them back down. In our house, there's times before bed where my son has a lot of energy to get out. So we're maybe running around or we're roughhousing, and you can see his energy starting to spiral upward, and oh, it might tip over the edge here pretty soon. So what we do is we take a little break and I give him a squeeze. I might roll on the ground with him, and that deep pressure starts to calm and regulate the nervous system. Number five, then, has to do with two senses that can help regulate the emotional side of the brain. Smell is olfactory, and hearing is auditory. So, rhythmic sounds can be very soothing for the nervous system. Certain essential oils like lavender and lemon can be very soothing as well for the nervous system. And the one thing here that is also in the Comfort Crisis book, he talks about not only just like soothing sounds like Mozart or nature sounds, but actually just simply having silence. It was more regulating for the brain than Mozart. It was more regulating for the brain having silence than certain breathing techniques or other relaxation techniques that you might have heard of. The nice thing too about being outside is that the sounds in nature tend to be more calming, more grounding for the nervous system. And then the last piece, tip number 6 here, is regular chiropractic care. This is especially the case for what we see in families who are trying all the strategies. They are doing their essential oils. They've got a great bedtime routine. They try to get their kid outside. They're eating healthy food. They're avoiding dyes and preservatives or lots of sugars. And they feel like their child is still struggling. Or they notice that, yes, if we do all these 10 steps perfect every morning, they have a pretty good day. But if we miss a step, or it's a full moon, or they're coming down with something like a cold or a bug, or they don't get the best night of sleep, everything goes haywire. If that's the case, there's often something deeper going on that we focus on at Whole Family Chiropractic, is we're looking to see, is there stress stuck on in your child's nervous system that's causing this constant level of dysregulation? Is there something off in their spine and their nervous system, sending stress signals into the brain, activating the gas pedal around the clock? Or specifically in cases that we see, especially after tough labor and delivery, maybe C-section, forceps, suction, getting stalled or stuck in the birth canal, that can throw off the upper neck, which is where the critical brake pedal is located, the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is what helps bring a stressed nervous system down into a more regulated, calm, and grounded state. That's something that we work with in many, many kiddos that we see in our office. So if that resonates, if you feel like, yeah, I do have to do everything perfect to hold my child together, I'm always walking on eggshells not to have them melt down wherever we're going, odds are neurologically focused chiropractic could help get your child that edge and get them to the next level. So if that's ever something you're interested in, please reach out. Know we're here for you. And we love helping kiddos' nervous systems be more calm, more organized, and more regulated.